Hello everyone, I'm Irma Baker. Welcome to our show. We're so glad to have you with us, and we're so glad to have with us now for the fourth time Fritz Kungl and his amazing story of survival with at the end of World War II. And today we're going to find out how he came to America. Fritz, it's so great to have you with us.
It's always nice to be here. Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it. Thank
So
you.
we have talked about what happened when your family lost everything. You are born in Yugoslavia. Your family had been in Yugoslavia for more than 200 years, but because you were of German heritage during World War II, they didn't want you. You were transported back to Germany. The Germans didn't want you. You went back and forth between Yugoslavia and Austria, and finally, you are able to come to the U.S. How did this happen? Where were you when you got the word that you could come to the U.S.?
Well, we were with a few ethnic Germans in a camp in Austria, and my parents, thank you for that, they decided there was no future. I mean, I had a job, my dad didn't. I was an apprentice, but we were still living in a camp. So they decided that once America accepted displaced persons, we decided to fill out the papers and all that and come to America. Because we didn't know what to expect. As usual, we just signed up for something and that we're going to go into the unknown. But it turned out beautiful. It was a great decision my parents made, yes, to come over here.
For someone who maybe hasn't seen the previous shows, I think we should specify that you were not in a concentration camp.
No, the camp and many of them, because ours was number 65, so I take it they had 65 camps, which were actually military camps. That's what the German army housed before we came in. This was it was a housing problem. It was a shortage of housing in Austria, and that's where they put us, in these different camps, yes.
So it was a former military camp that now had been converted to people who had no homes, nowhere to go.
Right.
And now you have, how did it come about that you had the opportunity to come to America?
Well, like I said, in around 1950, different countries accepted displaced persons. And then, of course, one of them was America. And as soon as we found out, everybody wanted to go to America because we heard a few things about America, how great it is, and they have everything. All you have to do is just come over and everything is there. It's available. So the first chance we had, the other parents signed up and we came over. So.
Did you have any contacts here or relatives here or anything?
We didn't know of the people that were here, but we found out once we got to New York that my dad had an aunt who lived in Akron. So we got in touch with her, and they sent us a train fare from New York to Akron, and that's how we wound up in Akron. It was a beautiful beginning. A lot of people had bad beginnings, but we had a beautiful beginning because we stayed with an aunt for a number of, probably a couple of months or so. And my dad found a job, I found a job, and I was going to be a machinist. Life was going to be great. But as you found out later on, something happened again. I mean, it was not what we expected. I was going to be, machinist, that's it, yeah.
Well, now you can't leave us with a cliffhanger like that. What happened?
Well, what happened is that the soccer coach at Akron U, and apparently he saw me play for the amateur team. He wanted me to play soccer for the University of Akron. Of course, I ignored him. I'm not college material. I had about 6 years of education, and that was about 10 years ago. No, maybe 8 years ago, yeah. So I had no idea that I was going to go to the university. I was nothing. I mean, I didn't have anything to do with it. But he kept after me. So I finally gave in, and I started out, and of course, needless to say, the first subject, the first day, the first hour was English. And it was a horrible beginning for me because I wrote something, I don't remember what it was, and when it was time for the professor to hand the papers back, I looked at mine, it was all red, marked up in red. And he said, correct the paper and bring it back. So I did that, and I brought it back, and of course it came back to me all red. But on the top, there's something I never forget. He had a small remark. Kungl, you won't be a smash in this class, but you'll do. Oh. Yeah, and the professors were nice. I didn't have any help. I had no financial help. I had to do it on my own. I had no tutoring. I had to do everything on my own. But the professors always said, don't give up. Don't give up. You're doing great. And of course, I had my shares of Fs. For a while there, I thought that maybe one F was better than another, because the history professor always said, you're doing much better. Turn the page, another F. So I thought, well, gee, maybe this F is better than that last F. But anyway, once I started, I was not going to give up. No way. I decided that it's going to, if it takes years, I will go to work in a white shirt, which eventually I did. So.
That's incredible that you were able to persevere, and it is wonderful that you had the support of the, the academics,
yes,
the professors
yes,
and
yes.
all, to make it possible for you to continue. That must have been very hard. How were you able to pay for school?
I worked.
So you were working as you were going to school and struggling with learning English and everything.
Right. I had to work because my parents couldn't support me. They didn't have. I lived with them, but they didn't have. My dad worked for Atlantic Foundry and probably minimum wage. So it wasn't. But I had to. Yeah, I mean, it was difficult. But prior to that, I have to tell you this because I also got a letter from Uncle Sam. I was invited, to join the military. Actually, I was drafted, and instead of being drafted, I joined the Marine Corps. But and that was a big help for me. I never regret being drafted, or in this case, like I said, instead of being drafted, I joined. It was a great experience. It helped me to get to know some of the people, American people. And in the military, everybody's treated equal. So that was the nice part of it, yeah. So.
You had a lot of things to juggle, a lot of works and schooling and military. And there's a little background there, too, of the soccer.
Yes.
You were playing soccer through this time, too?
Yes, and for a while there, I thought that the reason I'm at the university is to play soccer. I didn't really realize that I was there to get an education. I said my first responsibility was to play soccer because that's what I was asked to do, But after a while, I found out that, I'm there to learn. So I was very successful in soccer, but not so great in my education. But I kept on going. So, and this went on for about 4 years or so. And then in '62, I married the girl that I met when we first come over. And of course, she was
It's hard. It's very hard to
but
talk
she
about
was
some of this.
she was great. She raised the kids. She did everything, and she even helped make sure that I have enough time to study. Because here again, now I have to do something because now I'm married. I have more responsibility than working machine shop as I did off and on because I still had to support myself. I said I needed a more substantial job than working in machine shop. So I went to Goodyear Tire, and of course I was refused because I was told that I could not be hired because I was not a citizen. Which did not go over too well because I was drafted as a non-citizen, yet I can't get a job unless I'm a citizen. But I kept on coming back, and finally Goodyear did hire me. And Yeah, and here again, things seem to be working out great. And yeah, I worked. And of course, I made some of the remarks that some people would want to know how I was accepted, if I wasn't. In most cases, the bad remarks that you hear from people is a small minority. I mean, like in our case, at least in my case, the American people are great. They treated us nice, with the exception of a few things that happened when I started working. And was it discrimination? I never felt that way. I mean, if I needed to have a perfect English to do my job, which I didn't because of my accent, so the boss was probably right when he said that I could not be advanced because my accent keeps me from being 100% employee, you know, and I couldn't do 100% because of my accent. I said, well, accept that. I didn't like it, but what else am I going to do? And of course, some remarks when I was in supervision. Some of the guys said, why don't you go back where you came from? Or people like you, our people, don't have work. But you can't accept that. I mean, you hear it and you say, okay, you've done a lot worse, or you've been through a lot worse than this, so take it and love it. Didn't bother me too much. The only thing that bothered me is when I came in one day to work, and I went in the traffic department because I had some connection with the traffic department for my job I did. When the guy looked at me and he said, what are you doing here? I thought we killed all of you last night. He apparently watched a show, and I know that I watched it too. A TV series was called Combat, where the Germans fought the Americans. And I think that's the reference that he made to. That kind of bothered me for a while, but once again, it was just one person. I mean, and that was it, you know, so. But that didn't go over too well. But you know, you have to go. You have to, and of course, as things turned out, you know, we did great. We made a living. We worked hard, and it worked out fine. Everything worked great. Yeah.
It was a hard struggle all the way, but you had struggled from the time you were 11, 12, 10, 11, 12
Right.
in those last years of
Right.
World War II. And if you have not seen the earlier segments, go to watch WCTV.com, and you can find them on the RSVP page. And I'd recommend that you do that, because it is just an incredible story of Fritz and his family. But you did become a citizen, didn't you?
Oh, yes. Yes, I kept on working for Goodyear Tire. And after a while, I was just another employee. Nobody thought anything of me being a German, or because of my accent, nobody made any remarks anymore. They got to know me, and I think that's important. You got to know people before you make judgments. And they did, and I was accepted. Yeah, I worked. And the German ethnic people are hard workers, and I'm proud of them. I mean, and yes, they are hardworking. They are possessive of whatever they have because they always worked hard for it. You know, like in our case, you know, we come over. The first thing that Dad wanted to do was get a house. I mean, and he says, once we have a house, we have a home. And so every money that anybody made went toward paying for the house. We bought a house in 52. In 58, we had paid it off. It was not much of a house, but it was ours. It was ours. A house that now nobody will ever take away from us.
That's quite an accomplishment to have come over here. You're struggling with English, and I would imagine your whole family was struggling just as you were to acclimate themselves to America, to everything that was so different here from what you had experienced for almost 10 years
Yes.
before
Yes.
coming here.
Yeah.
So your sisters were working too, and your brother?
Yes, my brother went to school. He's 4 years younger, and he started out school. I was already too old to go to high school, which apparently I never did. And my sister worked in the factory as janitors. My mother worked cleaning houses for other people. Yeah, everybody, we all did the best we could. We had to, had to do it. And the language was some kind of a, problem, but not that much. It didn't interfere that much because my mom couldn't speak any English. My sisters, nobody. We but they kept on working, and we did great. We did great. Yeah, America at the time when we came over in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, it was just great. That's why it's so difficult to accept what's happening today. It's not the same America that the way we came to be. The people are a lot more, how should I say, for themselves rather than for America. And of course the remark that I made in there is as far as the melting pot is concerned, I said the pot is still here, but we don't melt that well, do we? Because we don't. We have all different sections rather than a country. Yeah. And the same thing with the money. We were told way back when that money grows on trees in America. And we didn't remember that, at least I did. And our German ethnics, they shook that tree a lot and often. And today, I'm sure that at least over 90% are living the American dream. They worked hard, and they accomplished it. They did it. I'm very proud of them.
When you say they shook that tree hard, they worked hard to be able to shake that tree.
Yes, yeah. They didn't stand under the tree with empty pockets and hoping for a miracle. No, they shook the tree. They want to make sure that they get the money. And they did. If anybody would look back and see what happened in the 1950s and 60s, most of the ethnic Germans worked in machine shops, making molds for Goodyear Tire, for B.F. Goodrich, for Firestone, and they all worked in machine shops. I shouldn't say all, but most of them. And yes, they worked hard. And of course, what happened in our case, I think, which is a good thing in one way, and maybe not so good in another, is we apparently assimilated too fast because nobody knew that we're here. We had no recognition. And that's kind of a sad part because we worked hard. We did contribute economically and, of course, socially. But nobody knows about it.
Well, you didn't have any handouts. Your whole family, you didn't have any financial aid for school. You didn't have any, I don't know if even food stamps or those kinds of things were available back then. But everything that you earned, you worked hard to earn.
Yeah, we had no help from the government at all, even coming over, other than opening the borders to come in. But we had to find our own sponsor, which in our case was, what was it, the National Catholic Welfare Center. So we had to find, that was our sponsor. And when we come over here, we also had to find work. The government was not involved. It was the Red Cross who handled all of the other, but the government, nothing. We were not recognized by the government in no shape or form. And I think that's the way we wanted it, because I don't, now it seems like some of us are probably grumbling about, see, they do all of this for the immigrants right now, and they did nothing for us. Now the government is involved. They're helping everybody, but when we come over, nobody helped us. And maybe because we were German. I don't know. I don't know. But the government was not involved. The government did not help us.
And you made your way without that kind of assistance.
Yes. Like most of them, we just kept on working and we were used to working. Our ancestors worked hard, and I guess it was handed down to us. And yeah. Now, my family have 5 children, all college graduates. We got 2 doctors in the family. My grandchildren, so far, any of them that are of age, they're going to college, and I have 16 of them. I would not be surprised if all 16 of them go through college, because their parents would make sure that they do. Yes, well, education was, my mom, she always said that education is the most important thing. Education and cleanliness. We would have one patch or another on our clothing, even here, but it was always clean, always washed. A clean patch, yes, just patch it up, but it had to be clean. So, yeah. It was great, yeah. It was nice to come over here, and I'm sure that I could not have done the same in Germany as I could here. Not that they're over there is the same thing, that they have their houses over there just like we do over here. The ethnic Germans worked hard, regardless where they wound up to. They were not accepted over there, not like we were accepted over here. I was over there in the 90s or something like that, and I still heard some of them, they were not too crazy about us ethnic Germans marrying Austrians or Germans. There was still some, even in the 1990s. So, yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit about your family.
My family, my now family, my children, or my siblings.
Let's talk about both. Just your older sisters, your younger brother, they did well here too.
Yes.
And you married your wife in, what was that, 1962?
1962,
And you
yes.
had 5 children.
5 children, yes.
So it sounds like that they have all kept that work ethic and that love of education and that love of family. Would you say that's pretty much?
Yes, my family, in both cases, we may have been, as far as economics, maybe on the lower side. But as far as family, no. I mean, there's no comparison. No, our family, my siblings, and now my children, the greatest family. And in the case of my children, my wife was the one who made sure. She raised them. I mean, she had to. I couldn't. I worked. And of course, once I started working at Goodyear, I had to go to night school. So she made sure that I have enough time, keep the kids away from me, so I could do the studying that I had to do in order to, So she did. She raised the kids, and she did a tremendous job. And every so often, she's probably the one that sacrificed more than I did, because once in a while, she even had to go to work for a while to keep us going economically. Yeah. But so, the family was great. No doubt about it. Great children and great grandchildren. Great grandchildren, not great grandchildren. I don't have any. I'm too young to have great grandchildren. Yeah. But anyway, oh yeah, no. The family and we're still very close. We're still very close. Now the only ones from my siblings is just my brother, who's still alive. The others passed away. But
It's a wonderful outcome of what was a very tragic beginning.
Yeah.
And for some people who don't know, we just have a minute or two left to talk today. You are in, I believe, 3 sports halls of fame for your soccer playing.
Yeah.
So in addition to getting an education, working, raising a family, you're also quite the soccer star.
Player. Yeah, it was the, first was the Akron New Hall of Fame, and I think then the Summit County and then Medina County. And of course, twice I made All-American. But here again, this was not important to me later on. I had the talent, and I said, well, that's great. It was not like, I think I made a remark somewhere. I said, it's beautiful and great to be an All-American, but that's good for half an hour. Then you go back and you play. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. So even though it was, yeah, but it was not the most important thing, or it was not something that I really cherished. I mean, it just was something that I accepted. I mean, it was something that I could do, and it was a God-given gift, and I didn't pay that much attention to it. I mean, one trophy was not big deal, so it's a piece of, yeah. I don't even know if I have any trophies anymore. I didn't keep them. It was not important. I mean, that was not important. I played. I love to play. But everything else was just, yeah, yeah.
Everything was more important. Family, education.
Family was always first. Family was always first, yeah. It was from my parents, family was always first. Any decisions that they made was always with the mind of the family. What is going to be better for the family? My mother thought if we go back to Yugoslavia, we might have a better life than we did in Austria because we were not wanted, which didn't turn out. So it was, and of course when they made the decision to come to America, it's not for them because they were already in the mid-40s. Yeah, so what's going to be best for the family? So they decided to come to America because there was more of a chance of living a better life.
Well, I'm glad that you had the opportunity and that you've shared it with us. And thank you all so much for watching. I hope that you have, I can't say exactly enjoyed the hardships that the Kungl family experienced, but it's something that I believe has helped us all. So thank you for watching, and I hope you'll tune in again. For everyone here, I'm Irma Baker for RSVP.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.